Hello.
Hi.
Hola. Today we're going to be talking about being a Latina abroad.
Our second English episode.
Oh yeah.
Woohoo.
Let's start.
Amazing.
So, we have been Latinas in the US and also in Europe. See, in Europe. Like
Yes.
living, working, studying. And we want to tell you guys about our experience there because it's
Tough.
very shocking.
Yes.
It's very shocking to be a Latina abroad.
Yes, it is.
Do you want to start?
I can start.
Okay.
So at first, when I went like to Europe to live, the first comments like from
You moved to Spain.
to Spain,
Uh-huh.
yes. The most of the comments like from everyone that wasn't a Latino was like, "Oh, you're from Colombia and from Medellin." So at first, like what everyone was asking me about was about Pablo. You know what Pablo I'm talking about. So it was like, but it was in a shameful way.
Yes.
Because it wasn't like getting to know the story or anything like that. It was more like, oh, so you do draw. I can't say the whole word, right?
We don't know. Maybe not, so you know what we're referring
So
to.
everyone thought like that Colombian girls and Latina girls were super involved with all the history of Colombia, and it was really like shameful for me. And then what also happened was like when I was walking through the streets or anything, and I went like to a bar with a lot of local men, they always scream like Latina, Latina.
No, really?
Yes, in San Sebastián.
And what did you say? You just
No,
ignored them?
Yes, I ignored them.
But
But,
I-
because they were really, like in San Sebastián, they're really territorial.
Yeah.
And also, like in the outside of San Sebastián, there's a little town that has like fresh markets. So we went there on Saturdays, and people were the worst with Latinos. I spoke to them, and because they knew I was Latina, they didn't.
They just
answer.
ignored you?
They ignored me.
No.
Yes, they were the worst.
I don't know, was that
So,
heavy?
so it was, the first 2 weeks was like that. They were like that. So I was really like the whole time I was like in a hood.
Cohibida.
Yes,
Like-
because I didn't know
In a
how to
hood, in a
express
hood.
myself, and I didn't want anyone to know that I was a Latina.
Of course.
It
because-
was, but I looked like a Latina.
Of course,
I
but
am a
no,
Latina.
pues sí, o sea, yeah. But do you know what happened to me when you talked about Pablo? You all know which Pablo. I found it so disrespectful because they would ask me like if it was good.
Yes.
So I like, oh, and so you know him and you've been to his house, pues you've been to where he lived, and I was like, no, o sea, that's so disrespectful. He was so traumatizing and everything he did, and like we still live with a lot of the violence he promoted at that time, and he like impulsed. That to us it's super hurtful when someone speaks as if he were good.
Like a hero.
Yeah, like a hero, like
They-
something. And then I was super like, no, what do you mean with them? I wasn't like
No,
that
me
nice
neither.
because I found it. But I also explained why. I'm like, I know why, because you see Netflix and everything and you think like he's God. But to
Exactly.
us, he's like such a figure that we do not like seeing or remembering or anything.
And we do not respect.
And we do
Because-
not
uh-huh.
respect. And they were like, woo!
Yes,
Pablo.
Pablo.
And I was like, no.
Me too. I like show them the history, like the things that our parents went through, and everything. So they like it's a lot of ignorance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they are based on Netflix. So
Yeah, and people,
so
and
you
they
can judge
really
them.
don't know how, like, they don't know because they don't have a source.
Exactly.
O sea, Netflix.
So I taught them the story and everything, and it was better. They never like talked about it again.
For example, I also remember when I went to the US to do a semester abroad, and it was Miami. It wasn't like, I don't know, Idaho. So,
Miami Latino
yeah,
world.
it's like the Latino gang. But a lot of the people from the university were not Latinos, they were gringos. And they had lived there. And I like gringos, but sometimes they really just think that the only thing in the world is America. It's true.
Yeah.
O sea, they don't know a lot about the rest of the world. And they were like, "You're from Colombia?" And I'm like, "Yeah, from Colombia."
Yeah, from Colombia.
Yeah, from Colombia. And they were like, and I showed them like from Medellin, and they're like, from where? Nowadays, I think Medellin is more known, and people know it a lot, but back then, no. And I showed them, and they were like, oh, you have buildings, literal.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? O
Incredible.
sea, of course, we have buildings, delivery, we have like everything. It's a
Life.
normal life. O sea, we
Cars.
have restaurants where it's normal. And they were like, no, show me more. And
You
they
don't
really,
live in farms.
yeah, you don't live like in
In the
trees.
forest.
And I was like, o sea, what do you mean? No, I don't live in trees. The cities have like buildings, they're like
Streets.
urban cities. O sea, they're not a forest with like huts. O sea, it was, no, pero it's true. O sea,
Yes,
les pensaban
sí.
que. And I found it so, but people, and that is like, that's the US. But then, for example, in Europe, I didn't find it
No.
like that. O sea, people knew a lot about Colombia. They knew that there were cities, o sea, that there weren't trees. But they also were like, another thing was like, when they met me, they
Europe.
Huh?
Europe or
Europe,
Americans?
Europe.
Okay.
No, and Americans too, both. This happened in both. They were like, you're Latina. And I was like, yeah, I'm Latina. You're from where? And I'm like, from Colombia. They were like, no, because they expected, because I don't have the typical Latina silhouette. And that shocked so many people, because like Latinas have more hips, and I'm more like, not as my hips
Slim.
aren't, yeah,
You're-
more, my
you're
hips aren't as
straighter.
wide, yeah, my hips.
It's slim.
And at that time, I didn't have my boobs. For example, I was plana,
Plain.
so plain. I was plain, so.
But I had boobs, and people were also like, they were like, what? You're from Colombia? And I was like, yeah. People couldn't believe it either.
Yeah, because the typical Colombia woman that everyone loves and sees everywhere is very voluptuous, but it's also like they're so disappointed. O sea, they're like, yeah, we're not all that way. O sea, we have people, like, we have a lot of branches. ¿Cómo se dice? Como this. Bueno, it doesn't matter, guys. Okay.
Guys, don't worry.
Guys, friends.
How was your experience, Juana?
No, I didn't. But is that I was with a lot of Latinos,
Yeah,
so that
Juana's
didn't.
university was very-
Yeah, and I don't know. They weren't that ignorant. But what did happen, but with Latinos mainly, was that they loved how we speak.
Yes.
But mainly like o sea, mainly from women
Medellin.
from Medellin. They always told me like, hey,
People
please
love
speak
the
more,
I know
speak
more,
more,
paisa,
speak more.
the acento paisa.
Uh-huh.
They always told me like to say like I know more, bebé, everything, like they heard like in the reggaeton songs, so they said like you have to say it, you have to, and they recorded me like saying,
Mentira.
but also Latino, like from Mexico, from
Sí.
Argentina, they love it. But also, for example, what happened to me was that not only some American people are ignorant, but also in San Sebastian, it's a so small city. Most of the people that live there have never like gone
Moved.
out of Spain or
Like the surroundings of San
exactly
Sebastian.
País Vasco, and they didn't know like that Colombia existed, and they also thought that Colombia was like a forest, and that we didn't. So like for a convivencia, how do you say convivencia? Like a team reunion to know everyone's
A
life
gathering.
better. We had to make a presentation showing like our families, our mascots, our houses, and they were shocked.
Mascots.
No se dice mascotas.
That's like the
Pets.
school mascot. Our pets.
I was like mascots.
I thought I said it so good.
When you were saying about like people didn't know where Colombia was, another thing, I'm like, guys, it's Colombia, not Colombia, please. Like people were always like, and you're from Colombia, and I'm like, no. Colombia.
Yeah, that always happens.
Yeah, and people do not know where to put it on the map. O sea, that's so true. And another thing I experienced when I lived, but like Miami, then it gets more Latin, and then the people know you, and it doesn't matter as much. But for example, New York, I worked, and the clients were very like high-end clients, and they were mostly European or from the US, but very like proper and blah blah blah, and you feel rejected, o sea, because you're Latin.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, why do you have an accent? Where are you from? if you're from Europe, it's one thing, but if you're from Latin America, it's a completely different, o sea, picture for them. Also, bueno, ¿qué vas a decir?
That happened to me, but for example, the people that were from Mexico and from Argentina, they were more respected than Colombia because they knew them
that's
better.
true.
Yes, so they were like Mexico. They treated them exactly the same, and me, they rejected me, and like the Colombian guys and everything, they were so like
Rejectful.
rejectful. I didn't want to say it again.
Another thing I found very shocking and very like not, you feel disrespected, but it's not disrespectful. It's just that people don't know better. Pero the clothing, people think you're not gonna dress well.
Yes.
That happened to me so much, especially. I go back to New York, Miami no, porque same
But
like
like,
in
no.
but like, what did they say to? What did they tell you?
They were like, no, they told me exactly that. O sea, for example, you're Latina from Colombia, and then I was like, yeah, and they were like, wow, and you dress really well because, pues, and because, and I'm like, yeah, of course, like, how did you think I was
Expect me
gonna
to.
dress? Yeah, and they were like, no, I thought you were gonna show a little bit more, like, and I'm like, no, o sea, that's just
Like
a
the
part
wrong-
of a like some stereotype that someone thought was sexy and they just put it out there, but it's not, and it's not even.
But it's a lot.
It's a lot, especially in Medellin. In Medellin,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
It
is.
But in other cities, like it's not even Colombia globally.
No,
O sea,
no,
for
no.
example, Bogota, Cali, not even Cartagena. It's just that Medellin has that culture of showing a lot.
Yes.
That's very strong.
Yeah, I think that sadly, Colombia, like Latin countries, but Colombia even more, people many times have like a how do you say it? Like a
Perception.
condescending perception, like a negative perception, but they act condescending towards us.
Yes.
In many ways.
In many ways.
And that, yes, and for example, I think that it's great that everyone sees Latinas as sexy girls and everything, but it's also like
No, I find it
feels-
rude. O sea,
exactly,
it feels como.
it's like rude, like, oh, you're Latina, you're so sexy, you're na. But it's also like, yes, I'm Latina, but I'm also like a normal woman. I have a lot of education, like everything. They think that you don't have that
Yeah,
because
and-
you're just sexy.
Yeah, and you know what else? What else? Guys. Men think that you're gonna approach them
Yes.
because you're Latina. They think you're gonna be like more, ooh,
That
like
was what I was
sexy or
like-
and we're normals. We're like normal people. And I remember that and that guy, no, normal, see.
Sí.
That guys were like, but I thought you were gonna be more like, ooh, and why? O sea, why did you think that? And they were like, but aren't you Colombian? Aren't you from Medellin? And so the only good thing Pablo left, nothing else,
Pablito.
nothing else, huh?
Pablito.
We know, is he made us strong. because people attack us so much, like in many ways, especially women, thinking that that we're very different from the way we really are, that we have to be strong and we have to be like, no, o sea, it's not that way, and you have to show them, which is also good. Pues,
Do you
in a way.
think that people think that Colombian people, girls, but mostly Medellin girls are like
Easier?
easier?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
For sure.
definitely.
That's what I like.
Yes, but
see-
I wanted like to say it like
Yeah.
clearly, like it's a perception that everyone has, and you have like to say no, I'm not like that. It's a perception, a wrong perception you have. So it's that
you have to
feels-
like set more boundaries.
exactly
Yeah.
because they
Because-
feel you're going to be like so easy going.
Easy
maybe
target.
also
Easy target.
maybe also I don't know this, but maybe I'm thinking like in dating apps.
That was what I was going to
Okay,
say.
that I think that men, when they see like that the woman is from Colombia, from Medellin, in dating apps,
They
they
think
must
they're
be like,
easier.
I'm gonna get her because she's easy. And no,
Uh-huh. And they text you like, oh, you're from Colombia. And they think, like, this happened to me, like,
Okay.
recently. they texted me, like,
What up?
Raya.
Okay.
And they said, like, oh, you're from Colombia, so what, are you, like, what do you plan to do, like, in this app? And I was like, no, I'm really looking for someone.
For a boyfriend.
Yes,
You were so honest.
Yes, I was. No, yes, I'm always honest. So I was like, no, I'm looking for someone. I hate being in this app, but I think that in Colombia and in Medellin, I'm not meeting anyone. So I had to expand my horizons. Sorry.
My network,
My network, yes.
my reach.
And-
my reach.
And I was like, oh, he was like, oh, I thought because of being Colombian and from Medellin and being on a dating app, you wanted something casual.
He said
And but
that.
he said like,
And where was
like
he from?
textually he said that.
He said that, exactly.
And where was he from?
Like from Mexico.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I promise you. Like from Mexico, living in Los Angeles.
And
something
you
like
never
that.
texted him again?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Hey, qué rabia.
Yes, and I was like, no, because so I'm wondering, like, are all
What are you wondering?
so are all like people that are on dating apps, like everyone thinks they want something casual, or just like the Colombian girls and other girls from other parts of the world, people think that they want something serious.
That's a good question.
Did you understand that? Or
Yeah.
I got a bit confused.
But do you want?
repeat
O
it.
sea, do the people want?
Wanna repeat it?
Is it just that? Is it just Colombian women, or is it everyone?
Is it that
Or is there a
men?
question?
Is it that men in apps believe that
It's only Colombia
yeah,
or the rest?
or
No, I really think Colombia has a negative, well, we see it as negative, maybe some see it as positive, I don't know, but it does have a connotation of women being more
Easier.
available,
Yes.
easier.
Oh,
Sí.
so that's bad.
yeah, that's so bad.
Delete Ryan. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Ah.
No,
No,
but,
but I think that everything stems from ignorance.
Yes,
course.
of course.
And from
That's
yeah,
not personal,
it's-
like, but
I
it's
think
not
it's
good.
a mix.
Yeah.
I think it's a mix of a ton of ignorance with a lot of
Douchebag.
a lot of globalism. O sea, a lot of network.
Globalization.
O sea, no, yeah, because I think like people don't know, but then they have Netflix that shows them so much, and they know so little that that's the only thing they're gonna believe.
But that's the thing, because now there's ignorance with information.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no,
It's
no.
both.
Yeah, but now globalization, but like information. So people think that they know a lot, but they only know, like, I don't know, one perceptive or perspective. Perceptive.
And the other thing is like maybe you can see that in things like paisas are available, but we have so much temper. O sea,
Yes.
it's not that easy. Como
No.
I really think that guys would be so disappointed when they see the woman that they see on the screens to how we really are.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of boundaries too. Como que
Yeah.
we're strong women.
Yes, we are, and we
Like the culture, I mean, pues.
and we
Us
say
too.
everything. Like we don't care if we say like, "What are you thinking?" or something like that. When people from other cultures can be like more, they can like be more respectful in that way. By our culture, we are used to saying everything, and it's not like taken in a bad way.
And do you think it's like, do you feel the difference with other Latin countries?
Yes.
Sí. Like in what way? O sea,
Like culturally? Like in, or like, yeah, like.
but sí.
Yes.
O sea,
Yeah.
the same reject. O sea,
Like
the same-
interactions with other people from other Latin countries, the way
yeah,
they,
I do
don't know,
think no,
speak.
pero
think.
I do think, for example, Mexicans. I find it super different because
Yes.
they're so conservative, they're so traditional. There's a lot of cultural shock with Mexicans and Colombians. Like, for example, they're not used to that como kisses in the clubs, or when you talk about, I'm not saying that you go to Mexico and you don't see that, of course not, but when you're talking about like the families and more traditional people, they are so, like, it's very different, and they do not get the same jokes.
No, they
I don't
don't.
think the Mexicans
They
have the
don't.
same humor. I think Argentinians do. They
It's
get
similar,
it. They
yes.
have like the same spice.
And also from Peru.
And Peruvians, yes.
And Venezuelans.
Venezuelans,
Of
yeah,
course,
for sure.
Venezuelans are,
I think
are
that
like-
everyone except Mexicans.
But
and,
Mexi-
and Brazil,
Brazil,
but Brazil is like from another continent.
Yes.
Yeah. Pues, like, o sea,
Yeah,
Exactly,
like
like-
culturally, Brazil isn't like Latino.
like
so
I
Latin.
feel like Latin America is so connected. Brazil is just because of the
Exactly.
language.
Yeah.
Like
Everyone-
starting from there, pues. Another thing would be, I find it so rude. Don't you find it rude when we're with, like, even nowadays when we're with guys, like friends or like people we've met, and they are like, speak more even if you're speaking in English, they're like, speak more paisa, speak more like that, and I just don't get it.
No, I like that.
you love it.
Yes, I love
Like
that.
when they tell me like, hey, I love how you speak more. I'm like, okay.
Me too, and
¿Qué te
I'm like,
digo?
I'll speak more paisa.
No, but not speak more, but speak more paisa. O sea, change the way you speak
But
to
I
speak
think
more
that
paisa.
I don't mind that.
It's like an
funny,
Italian
like-
guy. Like you're sometimes
Italiano.
like, oh, Italiano. It's not like in a rude way. You like that
true.
accent.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So
it's true.
I
don't
feel the
mind
same
that.
way.
And have you felt more respected anywhere because you're from Medellin?
No. I
But
have
I don't-
one
I
story.
don't know.
Who's this story from? Like the friend that said, some friend was getting robbed.
What?
I'm telling a story. A friend once was getting robbed, and he screamed, "I'm from Medellin!" And they gave him back his phone.
Where was he?
Yeah, like in Cartagena. It wasn't a friend of yours.
No.
So I mean, sorry, not names. A friend of us. Like, he said names.
Really? And they gave him his phone back
Yes.
because they thought he was dangerous.
Yes, I'm from Medellin. Me lo devuelves. You don't know who you're stealing from. And the guy gave the phone back.
But he was also in Colombia.
Yes, like in
in
Cartagena.
Cartagena.
It was super crazy.
And have you guys felt a difference? Like when you meet guys, I'm now talking Colombian, like in Colombia.
No, that was in Paris. In Paris.
in
So he
Paris.
screamed, I remembered. Soy de Medellin, I'm from Medellin, you don't know what. And the guy immediately gave it back.
Hey, do you know
And why
that?
didn't the other one say the same? Because he got his phone stolen.
But it wasn't, yes, it was another.
But do you know that once? Sophie, do you know the story? Once we were like, this is random.
I
random
am in the story.
Yes, of course you are. You were the protagonista.
Okay, amazing.
So we were in Las Fiestas de Retiro, like here in Medellin, and they robbed my phone, and I felt the
Yes.
guy like took it from my back pocket. So I told Juana like,
He ran.
He got my phone.
Valen told me like, they stole my phone. I was like,
who? And she saw a guy with a blanket
no,
like that.
Valen told me.
Him! Because the guy had a blanket like that with my phone under. Like I didn't see the phone, but I just knew it was him.
And
when
I went running and boom, and I hit like whatever he had.
blanket.
The blanket, yeah. And the phone fell, and we grabbed it and just ran.
we ran away. So be careful, with Latinas.
We're not.
Don't steal from us.
We're not scared. And have you also felt a difference being from Medellin? Because I really think that being from Medellin is like a thing.
Yes.
O sea, it's not like you're from Colombia. No, o sea, you're from Colombia, but you're from Medellin. It's completely different.
You're empowered.
See, or seen very differently
Exactly.
too. Do you think that people from Colombia, have you felt different like being from Medellin? Do you think
But
that
I have not ever been not from Medellin.
No, por eso. O sea, I mean, being from Medellin, have you felt that guys from
Yes.
other parts of
Yes.
Colombia expect something ¿Cierto que sí?
Yes.
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 I don't. I
No, but,
haven't.
But
I-
you know
I
what?
have.
What I've seen also, like,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I feel that they love Medellin
Yes.
women, but in a good way.
Yes, in a good way.
Okay, true.
That was what you were gonna say.
Yes.
See, they're
the
like kind of obsessed,
Yeah,
cierto.
no, but in a good way. It's like
Sí.
they have good, like you girls, like all the Medellin women and all, but most, like you had good values. You're working women and other things.
And you're from Medellin, so you're like that in a good way, that you're sexy and everything. That's like.
Sophie, you
yes.
love
Sophie,
being
you love
sexy.
saying that we're sexy.
But like
But-
10 minutes ago, she was saying
No,
that
but
they
in
told
that
her
way,
she was
because
sexy because she was
that's
from
in a
Medellin.
respectful way, you know, but not like in a
A disrespectful way.
¿Cómo se dice?
Condescending.
Condescending way. But for example, I've seen that
Condescending way.
Condescending way.
But for example, I've been like in a table with other women from Colombia, from Bogota, other places, and with men from
I think I know what you're
from
gonna say.
different places of Latin America, and they like more the paisa, o sea, the Medellin girls, us, than the other ones.
And women from other parts of Colombia feel
I'm
so
jealous.
threatened.
Yes.
I don't know what they
yes.
think we are. O sea, I think they must hear como que guys saying a lot about paisas, and then you're a
feel
paisa
threatened.
sitting in a group of other Colombian women, and you feel that they
They don't
reject
want
you.
you,
O sea,
yes.
they don't want you
They don't
close. They don't
want
want
you
you.
there.
They don't want you.
And they don't want you near their boyfriends also. That's something really not good.
Bad.
Okay.
I think we've
Yeah.
spoken a lot.
Yeah.
Hey guys, please subscribe.
Please.
It helps us so much if you want to continue
Guys, subscribe.
hearing English from the Latin girls.
Girls.
Las Montoya.
Podcast.
Alias, alias, what is it? Alias.
Alias.
Also known as
Montoyarchy.
Las Montoya.
You have to see the last episode, the English one, if you
To get
haven't
it.
seen it.
Yes.
It's so funny.
To
okay.
get it.
Huh?
to get it.
To get it.
Yeah, to get the joke.
Yes.
Okay, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.